Hi you, and welcome to another video for the Temple of Cornwall. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Rebecca and I'm the Mother Priestess and Creatrix of the Temple of Cornwall, along with being a sacred celebrant, a writer and an oracle. And the Temple of Cornwall is a little over a year old now. We just celebrated our first birthday at Ostara, and we're constantly growing and expanding not only our offerings but also our general energies out into the world, and we're currently trying to manifest a physical temple in Cornwall for you all to come and worship at, and for me and our fellow priestesses to serve you from as well. So this video, I thought I would spend some time introducing you all to the values of the Temple of Cornwall, what they are, why we have them, and going a little bit in depth as to how each one came about and how that plays out in our daily lives and priestess lives as well. So without further ado, our values. What are these values? So these are 6 kind of pillars of the temple as such, metaphorical pillars of the temple. And these are the things that were very important to me from the beginning of creating this temple. These were the things that were vital for me to have as part of the mindset, I suppose, of the temple is the best way to phrase it, the best way to approach things from the temple. And that will make more sense later on, I'm sure. So yes, it was all about what will keep me on track as well, not just as a mother priestess, but as a general priestess of Cornwall. How will I be guided? What will I be led to do? And these are all the tenets that I personally live by. And they act as like, I'm trying to think of the word, lighthouses, like the guiding light that keeps you on track as an individual, a priestess that serves, a mother priestess, the temple as the whole, anything that you are, these can really keep you on track, any values. And as part of the Priestess of Cornwall training, just a quick disclaimer actually while we're here, I will throughout this whole video be saying priestess, but I want to be clear that the Priestess of Cornwall training, and to be a Priestess of Cornwall, doesn't exclude men, non-binary people and gender fluid people. It is open to all, open to priest. I know from my research and from talking to non-binary people, their preference is to be called Priest X, but obviously you can insert your own preference there as well. But I will be saying priestess just to save me from saying priest, priestess, priest X every time. So yes, as part of the Priestess of Cornwall training, we go really in depth into what these values mean as a priestess of Cornwall, how they can help you, like help guide you along your priestess path, but also looking at your own personal values, because this is everything from this temple space. Everything that I approach is always done with empowerment of the individual or the energies there. So this isn't for me to say, for example, these values are the only values you should ever have, these are the best ever, get on it. Not at all. It's very important to have your own values and your own lighthouses and way showers as well. But these are just the original 6 that come with the temple. So this is in no particular order, by the way. The first is one of my favourites, wild magic. This is all about exploring the magic of the land. So for me, that's Cornwall, but for you, that could be Scotland, Canada, Italy, anything that you like, anything that you're near. And this is seeking out, going to that childish place within you that knows that just around this corner, magic lies there. There are fairies waiting for me there. There are gnomes in the brushes. There are goddesses at my side. It's that childlike wonder of complete and utter surrender to the divine, to the magic of everyday life and of being human and sometimes not human. It's all about encouraging other people to seek that out within themselves as well, because from this place we can create such spectacular workings, creations of magic, sometimes physical creations, whether it be artwork, children, anything from this space is so heightened with like the sparkling, simmering energies of pure, unadulterated magic at its purest. Oh, it's beautiful. So as priestesses, we always encourage those that we serve, the physical people that we serve rather than the deities, obviously. We always encourage them to come from that wildish place within to seek these wild moments out themselves, these moments of wild magic. And the benefits of wild magic in general, whether as a priestess or a non-priestess, is it really helps bring you into a deeper sense of connection with the land. You will learn really intimate things about the land. So, for example, you'll know that when the leaves on this particular tree start to fall, that is the first day of spring. Not spring, autumn. Won't help your vernacular wild magic, but it will make things indefinitely more fun for you. And it also, like I was speaking about briefly before, brings you into this place of like wildish creativity where you can create art from mud, from life, from anything, from death. Anything is your canvas. Anything and nothing all at the same time is yours to create from or with, or to, like dedicate your artwork to a certain thing. That's all so beautifully done there. And anything that you naturally are, the wildish magic of the land will further enhance and bring out in you. So say if you're not particularly creative, you don't think yourself as such, but perhaps you're really intuitive. Perhaps you think yourself able to communicate with spirits, with the divine. Maybe you can oracle like I can. Maybe you're gifted in that way. Going out into the wild and getting to intimately know those spaces without and within yourself will really enhance and bring to the surface any natural born gifts that you have, and then they are there and yours to do with as you wish. You can, further encourage and grow this gift, or you can just come to it as and when you want to or need to. There's no wrong or right in this circumstance anyway. So this came to be a value for the Temple of Cornwall from my personal experience. So I'm not sure whether I've still got a Mancunian accent. I do, yeah. Sometimes I think I don't, and then it just comes out. Yes, so if you can tell from my accent, I'm not Cornish born and bred, I'm Mancunian. So for the first, I think I moved out when I was 21. So for those first 21 years of my life, I would come on a holiday or two here every year. And it was always 2 weeks each time I'd come. And it was just so full, no matter what we did as a family or on my own or with friends, no matter what we did or didn't do, it was just pure, like I said before, pure unadulterated magic every time. Whether it was, drinking at a pub in Newquay or when I was, younger or on my own, celebrating the equinoxes at the Merry Maidens, anything like that. It was so, each thing that is done here, if you are connected with the land in that wildish place, it just sets you on track. You can't stray off the path because the whole world is your path. There's no straying, there's only adventuring and exploring and being. And that for me was really important from a sentimental point of view, but also because it's that sense of adventure that I think Cornwall really brings out in people. That's why we've got, for many reasons, lots of surfers, lots of like van lifers, a really different, unique take on traditional lifestyle that they're all kind of explored here in such wonderful and beautiful ways. And it's very much a part of Cornwall, of its identity as well, and of its spirit. So I really wanted to have like a value that correlated with that specifically. So that's why that's there. And how this shows up in my personal daily life, so not when I'm serving as priestess or mother priestess, when I'm just Rebecca going about my daily life. This shows up in, like I mentioned before, intimately knowing the land, so knowing that the wind's blowing this way in this part of the land, so that must mean ... It's all about living with the land and knowing you're in tune and in rhythm with it as much as you can be. I mean, as lovely as it would be to go and join a lovely commune somewhere where we can all live in rhythmic flow, it's not always possible for people. And one of my personal values, just not as a priestess or anything, but my personal values is to always make things accessible for people. Like don't exclude people just because, oh, you can't own an organic farm. Well, you can't be spiritual. None of that nonsense. It's got to be accessible, otherwise people won't do it. And then that defeats the point of people wanting to explore the spirituality if they then don't do it. So this is all, yeah, it's made to be accessible for you. So yes, in my personal priestess life, this shows if you ever worked with me, you've hired me as such for one of my priestess services, then you'll know that I just love to bring out the wild woman, man, or non-binary in you. That wildish creature that's nothing but fun and primal energies and rhythm and flow and surrender. Oh, love it. That's my sweet spot in life, is that wildish rhythm. And this is something that I tend to bring out in people to encourage them to, for many reasons. It can bring about empowerment and sovereignty, which are a whole different video in and of themselves. It just brings about a deeper connection with the spirit of Cornwall and everything that entails. And we do this in the temple by offering, sorry, I need to cough. I think that's it. Yes. We do this at the temple and in the priestess work that we do here by offering sacred walks out on the land. If you're part of the mystery school, the Priestess of Cornwall training, then there's the optional walks out on the land with a wonderful woman named Jane, who is so, I don't even know how to describe what she does with the land, but she is so finely tuned to the energies of the land that she's like a walking dowsing rod. She can find long forgotten ley lines, draconic energies that are rising up out of the earth. So she'll be coming with us on these, hopefully all of the optional walks out on the land. And this is, I won't spoil that too much, but that's going to be so much fun. We will have another video coming about the Priestess of Cornwall training as well, because we've been getting lots of lovely questions about that. And I want to encourage you all to look into that further as well. But yeah, so that is the value of wild magic. So the next value, again, no particular order, is compassion. This is so vitally important to me on all levels, known and unknown. So compassion for me means to love all, to love everything unconditionally. And it is nigh on impossible to do that 100% of the time. Again, this has got to be accessible. Sometimes you got to get irate in Asda. That's just going to happen. And that's fine. It's compassion towards those parts of yourself that do get irate in Asda. That's absolutely fine. You're human in this lifetime. Be human. Experience it for all it is. But from the priestess self, it's about loving unconditionally both halves of everything, the both polar opposites and the balance as well. Knowing that we can't have the light without the dark, and there's goodness in the dark and there's darkness in the light, and all the yin and yang and beautiful stuff like that. And it's to hold space with compassion and to hold space for people, for the land, for deities, with this sense of love, acceptance and support. And I know that the many benefits of offering compassion to people of all walks of life, whether you personally agree with their politics or, their opinion on this one thing or whatever, it brings about a sense of grace, not just through you, but for the person that you're serving or helping in whatever way as well. It really, people start to relax a lot more when they're in the presence of true compassion. They can really feel supported, whether they know or they don't know that this is what's going on. It's that sense of, I can relax. Like I'm okay here. I'm accepted here. I don't have to put up this facade of anger, fear, hatred, whatever it is. I can just be me in the most comfortable of ways and places possible. It also opens you up to more love as well, is that age-old adage of what you give, you receive. The more love that you put out into the universe, the more love that will come back to you. And you'll find if you start practicing compassion daily or, as often as you can, you'll find that there almost won't be a need to show compassion to others. People won't, those annoying people in Asda, the slow walkers or whatever, they won't bother you. That you either won't notice them or they won't just appear in your reality in those moments. And it just opens you up to all this grace and love and beauty in the world. And also with the sense of acceptance I was talking about before, that goes for you too. So say that you're, starting to show compassion as much as you can and want to. That will not only open you up to more love, but it will also open you up to more acceptance of yourself as well. So like I was saying before, the example of, oh, I can't be spiritual if I'm getting angry in Asda. Absolutely, you can be. It's that compassion for yourself that I can be both good and bad. I probably am. I've, got my toxic traits. I've got my lovely traits, as we all do. And it's with this sense of acceptance, you just drop the weight of years, I presume years, of judgment, the judgment of yourself and the perceived or known judgment of others as well. So compassion came to be a strong value for the Temple of Cornwall for many reasons, but the most poignant being, so bit of backstory, originally compassion wasn't going to be a value at the Temple of Cornwall. It was just going to be like a presumed given thing because of course we're a temple, of course we're spiritual people, of course we're going to show compassion. But then I'm not going to name anybody because I don't want to do that, but a priestess that I know who works a lot with death and with dying people and their families, she had previously helped this woman's grandma who was terminal at the time. This was around the time of the first lockdown in the UK here, so about a year ago as we're filming this. So previously to lockdown, she'd been helping this woman with a terminal illness, just being there for her spiritually and being there for her family and supporting them all. And this woman the grandma was very old, very ill, and she was in a care home and she caught COVID quite early on in the COVID crisis here in the UK, and she unfortunately passed away. This was very sad, but it is a part of life and the rhythm of life, and the family understood that. But the problem came when this priestess posted something on her Facebook page, on one of her social medias, and one of the granddaughters had disagreed with the thing that the priestess had said because it was about COVID being a hoax or something like that. And the granddaughter had disagreed, saying, like, my grandmother had died of COVID. Like, how can you say that? You helped her. Obviously, both coming from very different places. It was going to be messy anyway. And the priestess, in her role as priestess, turned to this grieving granddaughter and said something along the lines of, this isn't verbatim, but something along the lines of, the doctor forged your grandma's death certificate. There's no way she died of COVID. It's not real. It's not true. I would look further into this if I were you. I don't think your grandmother's death was as proper as it seems. What? Even if she agreed with that sentiment personally, which obviously she did, she has no right in her role as priestess to force that onto somebody else, in my opinion. That wasn't compassionate, that wasn't kind, that wasn't accepting, it just wasn't nice to do that to a grieving person, especially one that you worked with so intimately, as all those fellow death priestesses out there will know. No, it just, at that moment, I was like, this is definitely becoming a value, because apparently this isn't a given in some parts of the spiritual community. So I want it to be known that this is the Temple of Cornwall, and all its priestesses will always be there with compassion for you, whether we personally agree with your sentiments on COVID or who to vote for or whatever. It's a safe space for you to come and be witnessed and worship as well. Just want to say, this is one of the other values that we'll come to later on. I'm not saying that we accept racists, homophobes, anything like that. We do not. One of the other values that we'll get to is inclusivity. It's a safe space for you in all your forms as a good human being to come and worship here. But it's not a place for hatred, for bigotry, for sexism, for anything like that. So you are accepted. They aren't. Just want to make that clear. So yeah, so that was the main reason why I wanted compassion to be a strong value in Cornwall, because for the temple, sorry, because I wanted it to be known that this is what we do, this is what we're always focused on, is compassion for you as an individual and whatever you're going through. Yeah, it just didn't sit right with me what that priestess did. But that's her journey as a priestess. It's nothing to do with me beyond that, I suppose. So how compassion can show up in our daily life, we've kind of touched on that already, but by trying to practice compassion. So when I used to work in retail, feels like many lifetimes ago, it was always just hell on earth. Really, for the past couple of years it probably was that I worked in retail. But I originally started working at the body shop at the Trafford Centre in Manchester when I was late teens, early 20s. And I think I started just before Christmas. So it was obviously my first retail job ever. And I'm working Christmas at the Trafford Centre, which, for those of you who don't know, is a big old busy shopping centre just on the outskirts of Manchester. And so because I love helping people, again, just daily life stuff, whether it's you need a cleanser for your right skin or you want to connect with your higher divine feminine, I can help you with either. But because I've always wanted to help people, I couldn't help them properly at work if I was like, oh my God, another customer, got 5 minutes to closing time. Oh my God, don't you, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to be able to help them there. And then I'm just not going to have a good time at work if I'm miserable and moody all the time and not showing compassion to myself and to the customers and colleagues. So I would always approach each customer as if they were a nurse or a doctor, somebody who'd been working non-stop. They're a single parent, they've got no support at home, it's just them and a youngish child, and they're so run ragged, and all they want, all that will make them feel better right now, is a cleanser for their dry skin. And that instantly changed how I approach people. It'd be instead of presuming, God, you've got all the time in the world and you chose to come into the body shop 10 minutes before we close, how rude. It was God, this is the only time you have, maybe, probably, I don't know, who am I to presume? And it made retail a lot easier. So that's a tip for anybody who still works in retail. But it's that sentiment that can flow over into your natural life as well, your everyday life. So again, let's take being irate in Asda. The slow walker in front of you who just somehow keeps getting in your way, you can mentally approach them with a sense of maybe they've, somewhat recovered from hip surgery and this is their first time out on their own and that they're loving it, how excited they are to be back out. That's the main reason that I would go to in that circumstance. It's just finding things that makes it okay for you. But this isn't to say that, oh, my partner's mentally abusing me. That's okay because he had ... happen to him in his childhood. No, there are boundaries. There are certain lines that should not be crossed. So don't get the two mixed up there. There's compassion up to a point. Then compassion for self has to take over. And then you can just leave them and move on. But it's never that easy. I know, I get it. I've been there. And in the priestess life, compassion shows up as got all the time. It's this is one of the consistent things. It's through the training to be a priestess of Cornwall, you get taught how to live and flow from this compassionate state, how to serve indefinitely from the state. It is so finely weaved and woven into the tapestry of your priestess cape that it's just in everything that we do. We're there to listen, we're there to help, we're there to guide, all with your best interests at heart and in mind. It's never ooh, I want to sell a tarot reading. I need to, my Etsy sales are down, I need to get those back up. So yeah, you totally need an oracling session with me. It's never to serve our interests, it's always to serve yours. So this is, like I was saying, so intimately woven throughout being a priestess of Cornwall that it's hard to pinpoint exactly what is compassion, apart from the whole thing is set from this place of compassion. So the next value, let's think, empowerment. Oof. this is my favourite one. Again, the general subject of empowerment could be a whole video series, so I'm not going to go too in depth about it, though it is one of my, again, one of my sweet spots. So empowerment in general is the sense of full sovereignty over your own life. It's the sense of freedom of your own judgments, judgments of others, people's opinions, people's ideas of what is right or wrong for you. If what you want to do with your life messes with, not messes, but like makes other people uncomfortable, then that's on them. Presuming that, again, you're not a bigot or anything. Presuming that you just want to go off, like, live in the woods and talk to the fae, then yeah, it's that sense of empowerment of, this is my life that I'm living right now. Nobody else gets to say how I feel, live, work, or exist. That is me and me alone. I take full responsibility for that. That's a sense of empowerment. I always like to think of it, as I said before, sovereignty. It's that being like the queen, king, or sovereign over your own life, of being, just like fixing that crown atop your head and serving your inner self the best that you can as a proverbial sovereign. I think boundaries get spoken about quite a lot with empowerment, which is super important, but it's also, again, whole of the video, won't go into it too much, but it's also that sense of ambivalence as well. Like, to set a boundary takes energy. And sometimes if you set a boundary, no matter how hard you try, sometimes it'll be crossed and you just have to set another one, stronger, deeper, higher, whatever, and so on. And sometimes it takes so much energy just to keep setting boundaries with people or situations that it just gets infinitely easier just to be ambivalent about them, just to come from that place of, all right, you do you, boo. I'm going to go live my best life over here where you cannot reach me, find me, or contact me, which is difficult. Again, this is all part of the training that we offer at the Mystery School at the Temple of Cornwall. But and it's also about bringing your chakras more into an aligned place. I think it's impossible to have aligned chakras and not be empowered. So for me personally, my empowerment centers, which is what I like to call them, so where I mainly feel my empowerment in my chakras, is my sacral, my solar, and my throat. Those are the three places where I know if they're a bit out of sync or unaligned, that my sense of empowerment and sovereignty will be a bit skewy, won't be quite as amazing as it usually is. And it's at the Temple of Cornwall, this is a value for so many reasons, but I spent 10 years in an emotionally abusive marriage and relationship. Wasn't married for 10 years, thankfully. I was with him for 10 years though. And this did a number on me, as any person who's experienced abuse of any kind will know. And it going into this work as a priestess and then creating and opening the temple, that took a lot of empowerment work for me to feel worthy, I suppose is the best word, to feel worthy of that. And it would pain me to think that anybody who came to this temple for whatever, whether it was just to rest for a while or be seen or whatever, that they felt that they weren't empowered here, that they weren't sovereign in this space. We're all sovereign. It's like the great round table of King Arthur's court at Camelot. Everyone's got a seat here. Everyone's got a voice that deserves to be heard and is encouraged to be heard. And this is brought about in the priestessing side of life and through the temple by always making sure that you make the choice. And by that I mean, so I'm just trying to think of a good example. So say if you came to us for a tarot reading and it was, you've got option A or option B, it's never option A is going to be the best thing for you because you've got ... This is going to be amazing. Option B, not so much. This is going to be pretty crappy. Things aren't going to go well if you do option B. We'll give you all the information, but we're never going to show a preference, because as priestesses, I think some people can get quite easily attached to like, oh, well, the priestess said, so we should do that. That's not always the case. Priestess is just an opinion at the end of the day. Sometimes a divinely channeled opinion, but still an opinion. It's giving you the confidence and the knowledge to make your own informed choices about things. And again, this comes into the training as well. So there's a whole lesson on empowerment in the Temple of Cornwall Mystery School. But this is, it's hard to describe what we teach there without going into full-on detail. So I won't, because this is already half an hour. My goodness. I don't half waffle, do I? If you're here at this point, well done. Bravo. Thank you. So yes, always giving you the confidence and empowering you to make that choice and to know that you are living your most authentic, your best life, the life of your highest self. And it's, yeah, it erases a lot of self-doubt, which I think is something that everybody struggles with. I would presume is something that everybody struggles with. So it's, yeah, empowerment can just erase that, whether momentarily or permanently. Either way is beautiful and correct. And there's, oh, I could go on forever. I won't. I will stop. But that's the value of empowerment. I am probably, definitely, in the future going to do a whole workshop on empowerment, hopefully in person. But because of COVID, I might have to do it online. But either way, it'll be beautiful and lovely. So do keep an eye out for that, because I want to go so in depth with this and help more people with empowerment specifically, not just this is like a caveat of something. So yeah, do keep an eye out for that. It's going to be so much fun. So the next value of the Temple of Cornwall is being of service. So this is in service to the land, its deities, and the people that we serve that come to us for different things. So being of service means to be helpful, to be a guiding hand, and to encourage. And also to, yeah, encouragement is the word I was looking for. Yeah, encouragement. So being of service is most predominant in my life, in my role as priestess, in my day-to-day life as, you know, a partner, a daughter, a friend. It's not so much there, because that it wouldn't, that would fall into like icky territory for me, because being of service is this sacred dedication. It's a vow that you take and that you make to be of dedicated service to, like I said, the land, its deities, and the people that live upon it and come to you for your services as priestess. So if I was to, let's take my friend for example, so if I was to be of service to my friend, that's going to create some really weird, uncomfortable energies, I would say. So yes, this doesn't show up too much in personal life for me. It just shows up mainly as priestess. So again, dedication and priestess, like the basics of dedicating as a priestess, it's a whole other topic. But this came about because as a value of Cornwall, Temple of Cornwall, because again, I wanted it to be known that we aren't, as an energetic whole, like as the priestess community at the Temple of Cornwall grows and continues to expand, I wanted it to be known that we're not energetically nomadic, that we are rooted here in service to this land, to the spirit of Cornwall, and to you if you sought out our services or just our existence in general and our energies. Almost to be a sense of like an energetic spiritual home for people, which I know Cornwall in general is for lots of people, but to give them a place where they can go and worship that home within and without as well. And also that we're not, I don't know, to me, I wanted it to be known that we're well informed, we're well educated on what we teach here, that it's not, oh my God, I read like half a book and I'm so pro at it. Like, nothing wrong with that, but I just wanted it to be known that this is, yeah, in dedication, this is all in service for you and for Cornwall. And just to make those really important for many reasons. I just think it's such an integral part of being a priestess and a priestess-like life in general that it'd be really odd to not have as a value. So that's the value of being of service. Quite short and sweet for me, that one. Quite proud of myself. Tap on the back. So the second to last value, again, no particular order, is caring for the land, for the physical land. So this is, to me, means to be as eco-friendly as we can be. And within our means, there is no point going bankrupt over trying to live a zero waste life, because then you can't. That's just terrible for so many reasons. So to be as eco-friendly as you can be. And to care for the land is to not only nurture it and look after it, but to help it flourish as well. So to maybe plant things in a garden if you have, and really nurture that plant, or even just like a plant box or whatever you have. And it also, I always think, how can we serve, how can we worship our chosen deities if we don't nourish the land upon which they come from? So if you take Rhiannon, for example, who's one of my personal favourites, she's a Welsh goddess. So how could I work with Rhiannon and worship her and love her if I don't also feel that way for Wales? Luckily, I'm quarter Welsh, so that helps, but you get my drift. How can I be of any... How could I get any use out of my relationship with the deities if I don't care for their physical land, as well as the spiritual and metaphysical land as well? So there's so many benefits to caring for the land, spiritual and not, which I'm sure you all know. This isn't about to be a eco-activist tirade, which there's nothing wrong with. This just isn't the space for that. So it obviously helps Mama Gaia. It helps her heal, to flourish, and to just exist as best she can with what humanity in general are doing to her. We're not trying to drastically outweigh the scales, although that would be perfect, don't get me wrong, but that's not going to be done in a generation and on an individual scale as well. But again, not the time or place for that. And this came to be a value for the Temple of Cornwall because it's always been important to me. Again, it's that sense of like, how can, for me personally, how can I call myself spiritual if I littered, if I polluted, if I knowingly, gave money to this corporation that's drilling in the Arctic or whatever it might be. And I wanted that to show up in the temple life as well. And we are as eco-friendly as we can be as a temple space as well. So if you've tuned into any of our temple space live streams, which are on our Facebook page and our Instagram, you know that I'm trying to find one. Have I got one? I don't have an unlit one around me, but you can donate a couple of pounds to our PayPal, and for that we light a tea light from the sacred flame of Cornwall and post it out to you. And yeah, they're all lit. And the tea lights that we found, whilst you get the little metal ones with the normal wax in, they're fine if that's what you can get. But sometimes they don't get recycled properly because they're so small, or the wax doesn't burn nice, and that sends out pollutants into the atmosphere over time. We found soy wax tea lights with the casing being compostable. So it looks like plastic, but it's not. It can just go in your compost. I know many farmers and allotments have like a scheme where you can leave stuff with them to be composted. Do check your local allotment, because not all of them do that. Don't just go and dump a load of like potato peels there, because that might not work. So yeah, we use those. If you've come to us for a ceremony, so say for example a baby naming ceremony, there's one of the rituals that you can choose to have is a blessing with the element of air. And now most parents will choose to have glitter, like fairy dust. It's this whole big thing, to have the fairies bless the baby with the glitter. We always use eco-friendly glitter, but beyond the normal eco-friendly glitter that you find, this is marine friendly as well, because obviously being in Cornwall, we're surrounded by water and the ocean, and it's, again, I won't bore you with the intricacies of the science of marine friendly and eco-friendly glitter, but it exists. So yeah, we use that, or you can use dried petal confetti, everything that we do is looked at through the lens of, okay, what's the best way to do this for Mother Earth? What's the best way that's going to look after the land and help it flourish and help it be as healed and healthy as it can be with the best of our abilities? That's the best way to look at that. And that's caring for the land. I don't think I've got anything else to say on that, which would be of any use in this circumstance. Like I said, I could talk forever about these topics. This is meant to be just a brief thing, but look at us, 40 minutes in. God bless you all. So the final pillar value of the Temple of Cornwall is inclusivity. Now again, this wasn't one that I'd thought to add in originally because I presumed it was just a given. But then again, apparently that is not. And that's really sad that in 2021 and 2020, when I was writing these values, it's still not a given. So I want this to be a place, this is a place for all. I would say irregardless of gender, race, sexuality, abilities, capabilities, all that. It's not irregardless. We celebrate you for your uniqueness or lack thereof, or whatever it might be. We applaud your differences. We cherish you for them. So yes, you are welcome here, irregardless of, all those things I listed before. But I also want it to be known that it's not like I'm blind to colour, because that doesn't help anybody. Again, reasons I won't go into now. But yes, that's not the best way to approach these things. So you are celebrated in all your technicolor glory, every single one of you. And we embrace you and accept you exactly as you are, exactly as you energetically arrive to us. We embrace you as that, and whatever else you may grow into there. And we will always be an ally for you. This takes a lot of perpetual learning on our part, and that is absolutely fine. I do not have a problem with that. I would hope nobody else ever would, but I wouldn't have to be saying this if people would. But anyway, yes, it's a constant education. And do always call me out and stuff if, I say something that might be, or, do something that might be appropriating a culture, or this isn't quite the right word for this sexuality. Can you, whatever. Although I like to think I'm pretty up on it, but yes, do let me know, because it's always a constant learning for me. But we will always be your ally. Each individual priestess might not choose to be, a Doc Martin wearing activist out on the streets of London fighting for your right to love or exist or have accessibility or whatever it might be. But we come from that place of support and of showing up for you as, and how society unfortunately probably views you. And this goes as well for men. I think men in general get the real bad end of the stick in the spiritual community, which I understand completely, but I want this to be a safe space for good men as well. Yeah, I do, and it is. I try and make it accessible for them as well. But again, if something I'm doing in the temple as a mother priestess is making you feel uncomfortable, let me know. I want to know why. Definitely. And if it's something that we could adapt or change with your guidance. So inclusivity came to be a value for the Temple of Cornwall because, again, it's a very strong personal thing in my life. I spent, again, in Manchester, I spent a lot of my wayward youth on Canal Street. So that lifestyle has always been a big part of my upbringing, I suppose, my, formative years. And whilst I am a straight white cis woman, I understand there's an awful lot of privilege that comes with that. So I couldn't imagine being anything other than that. But I always take time, again, personal, how this shows up in my life and why this is a value. Always wanted to take time to understand I don't know how to phrase this, the lack of privilege, I suppose. That's not the best way to phrase it. Hopefully you know what I mean. But yes, I've always wanted to make the world a better place however I can as an individual and with the means available to me. And sometimes if that's just being an accepting, listening ear for you, that is absolutely fine with me. If that makes your world a better place, that makes the world a better place overall, in my opinion. So yeah, and there's a temple life, as a priestess life. This shows up, like I said briefly before, accepting everyone as they are, accepting you. Again, it's that word irregardless. I don't mean irregardless, but I can't think of a better word for it. But irregardless of your race, your sex or lack thereof, your gender or lack thereof, anything like that, you're welcome here exactly as you are. You are perfect and beautiful and wonderful, just as you are in this very now moment. And again, this is one of those things that's so like finely tuned to being a priestess of Cornwall that it just naturally flows into everything we do. There is zero judgments here towards those things. There is zero tolerance for any behaviour, untoward behaviour. So any racist behaviour, misogynistic, sexist behaviour, homophobic behaviour, anything that's a detriment to anybody is massively discouraged here. We've blocked numerous men for very misogynistic views, and I'm fine with that. They can go be annoyed in their little corner. That's fine. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother anybody else in the temple now either, because they lasted like half a day in the Temple of Cornwall community group on Facebook, and then they just got blocked because they were just being toxic little men. But that's a whole different story that I won't bore you with. I already have kind of bored you with it, I suppose. So yes, that is the value of inclusivity. So just to recap, after the 46 minutes that we've been here, the values are wild magic, compassion, empowerment, being of service, caring for the land, and inclusivity. And those are all the tenets that we live by as much as we can through this temple, and also as priestesses of Cornwall as well. These were all very big parts of the training. And if you are interested in becoming a priest, priestess, or priestess of Cornwall, then do check out our mystery school page on our website, which I'll leave a link in the description for you as well. It's got everything laid out, almost like an itinerary for you right there. And if it's something that you're interested in, we can always arrange for a no obligation, obviously free Zoom chat. Or maybe not Zoom chat when we are locked down. Soon enough, probably a Zoom chat. But yes, we can arrange for that so I can answer any questions for you, explain things better, and we can go into lovely, delicious detail of all the juicy things that are happening during this training as well. But yeah, that'll be in the description for you. So thank you so much, you, for joining me on this journey through the values of the Temple of Cornwall. I'm going to try and do more YouTube videos. I feel like that's going to be more helpful for everyone. It's going to be fun for me as well. So hopefully this has been okay for an official first time. Many blessings to you. Bye.